rep to the Board of Ed.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's great stuff.
Good man. So it's nice to give him a little bit of a kick once in a while because he does terrific work. You know, it was time to make that decision every year after session. And while you're going through session, especially as a committee chair, it's probably the absolute worst time to think, shall I run again or not? Because you're working so many hours and you're getting pulled in so many different directions between your job and the legislature and your family. And this was really not a hard decision to make for me this year. I've always said I'll do it till I don't like it anymore, and as long as I'm being effective for the people of Wethersfield and the state of Connecticut, I'll continue to like it. And I think I am. I'm a good advocate for the town. Always, you know, this is always. I have a sign in my office, and you know, it's just a little sign, you know. Something like Wethersfield, you know, where home is, and so no matter what's going on, when I'm up there, whether it's, you know, late at night in my office and I'm trying to work on bills or trying to get committee work done, it's always right in front of me so I can see it.
That's nice.
And you know,
That's very nice.
I have a painting by Carol Adel in my office.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And you know, stuff like that. I just have a lot of Wethersfield stuff that reminds me of why I'm there. And I know people say, well, why do you need to be reminded? You don't, but I mean, it's just the people.
Yeah.
Holy Toledo.
Oh, we have a caller.
Yeah.
George, do you have a question or comment for Russ?
Hey, George.
George will be with us very.
Uh-oh. We hear. Ooh. George, you there? Oh.
Feel free to call back, George.
I think they just put him into the hearing impaired category because of that screech.
I'm sure he'll call back.
So as we go back and forth, you know, like I said, I really enjoy what I do. Serving the people of this district has been a job. You know, it's a job, but it really isn't. It's rewarding. And, you know, the great thing is unfortunately, you know, we get into partisanship and all that stuff that will come up, I'm sure. And then, you know, if this campaign's anything like 2 years ago, we'll have some of that. You won't see it from me, but, you know, we'll have to deal with it. But on that side, once the election's over, you know, it doesn't matter who you are, what your party affiliation is. I work for you. You know, we agree on some things, we disagree on others, but we always love hearing from the constituents. And Wethersfield's a very active community in that regard. I get a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls from people telling me, you know, what's going on, what they like, what they don't like, what they think we should try to do differently. And sometimes, you know, people just saying, hey, you're doing the right thing, or we wish you wouldn't do that. And a lot of times, the great thing is that I love about this town is after having the discussion, even if they don't agree, if you give people your reason for doing something, they'll, okay, well, we don't agree with you, but thanks for explaining it.
Hey, I don't agree with you on everything, and particularly on an issue that's
you should.
but particularly on an issue that's very, very important to me.
Yeah.
We don't agree, and I'm okay with that.
We have to be.
Right, because
we have to
there's
be,
just so much that you stand for that I truly believe in. You know, it can't be just, I can't just be a one-issue person.
And some people are, but I think the majority of people aren't. And even in a race like this, it's people go by, you know, I think people vote for somebody they know and somebody they trust and somebody they think that will overall do what they feel is best for the town. And you know, I've been fortunate over the years to have earned that trust. And I hope, you know, I just, every day I don't take it for granted. I'm always, you know, I don't take for granted what the people have given me, which is the right to represent them. So, you know, I ask them humbly as I start again. You know, I'll be honest. When you're doing what I do, you're asking for people's support. You're asking for them to have faith in you and cast their vote for you. And we all, you know, I take that very seriously. It's you know, the most important thing we have is our right to vote. So when I'm going to somebody's home or talking to them in the grocery store, or wherever we're talking, you know, I'm asking them, and you know, I'm trying to earn it every day.
Absolutely.
So
No,
it's going to be it's
Good.
going to be good. It's kind of odd to start talking about it now, to be honest with you, because you know, in August people are still trying to think about Holy Toledo. We have about 3 weeks left of summer. We want to get everything in before the kids get back to school, before all the stuff goes. And unfortunately, with this primary, the political ads have kicked in. So you know,
which reminds me, we've got to remind people to vote
on August 14th, on Tuesday the 14th. Both parties have something, and I think our caller is back. Hi, George.
You're on.
What are going to be the main issues between Democrats and Republicans this year, and in particular, what are going to be the main issues between you and your components? Okay.
Okay, well, that's a great.
Main
I think the main issues between Republicans and Democrats, and I think the biggest issues will be the attack on services. You know, if you look at some of the Republican budgets in the past few years, there have been a real difference. There's a real difference between what I've stood for and what my friends on the other side of the aisle have stood for. And if you talk about budgets, we fought for education funding. We fought to keep people that have special needs, to have them getting services. We wanted to make sure seniors could still, you know, have access to good care. And some of the budgets have been slash and burn. Now, it's kind of easy to just look at the contrast between my opponent and I. Some of the things that have been very important to this town, he's been against, I've been for. He was against Wilkes Farm. 2/3 of the town voted yes to Wilkes Farm.
Yes.
I stood out with the 2/3 of the residents and said, this is a good thing for the town. We got some, you know, state funds. The town is, you know, was right behind it. He was no, I was yes. I've been a strong advocate for education for my whole life. This year we've gotten way more education funding for the town of Wethersfield, and we've done some other things. But he voted against the education budget. He was the only person that voted against the education budget and the whole budget in a row. The 5 other Republicans and the 3 Democrats on the town council voted yes. They voted, and he was the lone stand-up saying he wanted more cuts to education. The year before, they cut the education budget pretty seriously.
Yeah.
He wanted more of a cut. So he proposed more of a cut. So I think the biggest differences between him and myself are I'm more in tune with what the community wants. I support education. People in Wethersfield want a good education system. I've done the things to get the funding when I was in the local level and at the state level, and I'll continue to do that. And he's not. So, you know, it's not personal. These are all. And again, let's be clear. I want to run a good, honest, issues-driven campaign. I asked my opponent 2 years to do that. He decided to change his mind. I'm hoping that, you know, I haven't really had an opportunity to talk to my opponent yet at this point, but I'm hoping we can continue to go on issues. But that's exactly what these 2 issues are.
And those are issues. It's not.
Yep.
It's not name calling.
No.
And but it's interesting that you should say that you brought in more education funding, because I've read things by your opponent that says you don't bring in money, which I don't think is really accurate.
No, you know, it's not, and I'm sure I'm sure as we go on there will be opportunities, but you know it's getting to a point, and I want to. George brought up some good points about what's the difference between us and them, and all you have to look at right now is what's going on with the super PACs that are getting involved.
You know,
on both sides of the aisle.
Both sides. What is going on?
And I you know, myself and Gail Salzberg, my Senate co-chair, we passed probably one of the toughest, disclosure bills in the country, and because of Citizens United, which says that corporations can give freely and they don't have to disclose where their money's coming from.
And that was a U.S. Supreme Court case.
Yes.
And then you guys, you drafted a bill, and
Yep. We'll get back to that.
Yeah,
Remind
we will.
me.
Let
We
me
have a
write
call.
that.
We have a call. Hey, Chanel. No? Okay.
Hi. Do you have a question or comment for Russ?
Yes, I do. My question relates to senior citizens, and I'd like to know what is being done to help seniors stay in their homes longer, and what is being done to help them with their medical costs.
That's a good one.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for calling. You know, and again, in a town like Wethersfield, 27, 28% seniors.
Is that what it is?
Oh, sure. It may be more now. I'm going back to when I was mayor and towards the beginning, but terrific.
Wow.
Terrific question. You know, we're trying to try to help keep seniors in their homes. And you know, I want to talk a little bit about money follows the person, because it's a good thing, and it's also, you know, I think it can cause some hardships as well, because it's not a cookie cutter approach. I know that if it's possible with the proper care, I think it's better for people to be in their own homes if they can physically do it and they have the proper care. And we're doing that for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. There are some people that can't be in their own home; they don't have the support. So, you know, we always have to fight that. We've done some things with Medicare eligibility for prescriptions to help keep access to prescriptions by raising their Medicare savings program. It's called the income limit, so that you know, they're still allowed to get their Medicare drugs at a better price. You know, we hear all the time from the seniors, we're on a fixed budget. We can't keep going with the taxes, and we can't keep going. But they still require some help. The money follows the person is one example of where the state pays so much to keep people in nursing homes. And I would say, in my opinion, if they need to be in a nursing home, then we better be taking care of them. Mm-hmm. But if they don't need to be in a nursing home, why not get them the help they need in their own home? Some of the things we've done, nursing home grievance committees. We've put forth a couple years ago, in 2011, I believe, that they have to be at a nursing home grievance committee has to be established at each nursing home. So when residents, patients and families. So when there's an issue, and the employees and an elected resident we're comprising the committee to give them more of a voice, because you hear good. A lot about that. There were some grandparents' rights issues, mm-hmm. and that I was able to listen to some testimony. You talk to about grandparents that want to have visitation rights, mm-hmm. and sometimes family battles
mm-hmm. With the divorce.
Get into that, and that's something that we're looking to try to get involved in. So, I mean, I think making sure that people can stay in their homes is huge. Yes. And we actually did something with the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, making it easier for seniors to qualify to get help with their groceries. And that's something that they can call. There's a number. If you're interested, you could certainly call my office or email me, and we'll get that for you. So,
wow, that's a lot. I mean, and they need this. The seniors actually need these services.
Yep.
So I think that's pretty great, Russ.
And it's really the other thing too is I didn't know this, but and I guess this isn't just for seniors really, but hospice care. There's only 2 licensed hospices in the state.
That's kind of amazing.
Yeah, and I was made aware of hospice when my dad was dying down in Florida, and I'll never forget the compassion that was shown by these people, and how they helped not just my dad but our whole family.
Oh, yeah.
And they were an amazing organization. Well, in Connecticut we only have 2, and so basically we're trying to give smaller facilities the opportunity to open up and provide that service to people, mm-hmm. and that's important.
And hospice care is also, home hospice care is
mm-hmm.
also amazing.
Well, that's where it was for my dad.
Yeah.
It was at home, and he was able to live out his last days in his own house, mm-hmm. and I think that was important to him, and I think it was my stepmom. I think it was important to her as well.
Oh yeah.
And so there's a lot of good things that we can do and should do.
lots of good stuff for seniors. That's good.
And that's something that we're always going to have to battle.
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting up there in age, Russ. And I'll probably
You
be
and me
living in
both.
Wethersfield, so take care of seniors.
I will do my very best.
Okay, good.
I will do my very best.
Actually, that was a really good question
Yeah.
on that. Just to go back to super PACs for a minute.
Yep.
So, in response to this U.S. Supreme Court case, you and your committee came up with a...
We came up with a really tight disclosure bill that said if you're going to start doing these independent expenditures, we want to see who your top. Well, we were really strict, but there were some people that made some complaints, so we said we want to see where your top 5 donors are coming from.
So these super PACs that are not really, that aren't part of someone's campaign,
Right.
they're separate.
Right, and we even went after corporations, businesses that are engaging in political activity. I'm not going to say it. There's some people that are trying to do that will go out and make political statements and fund ads. And we're saying we actually wanted them to have to get approval from their shareholders. Because there's corporations that'll spend $5 or $10 million on an issue, and they'll go out and say, if you don't like this, call your state representative, and they'll show my name and number or anybody's, and we're saying, if you're going to go out, fine. We don't care if you want to get involved in this, but we think you should let your shareholders know that you're doing this.
You're spending their money to do this.
Yeah. That didn't go over too well.
I can imagine.
But going back, even with the independent expenditures and the disclosure we want these super PACs. We want to know where they're coming from and who's funding them.
And what happened to that bill? I mean,
it got vetoed. It passed both chambers, and the governor vetoed it because, for whatever reasons.
Okay.
And it's just watch the television now, and this isn't a Republican or Democrat issue because there's super PACs that are going with both people.
Both.
Both parties are utilizing. I mean, Congressman Larson had a forum that I couldn't attend because I was out at the Night Against Crime, but he had something in West Hartford talking about this because, everybody complains about the amount of money that's going on and the amount of money that's being spent, but it's for average races, it's not the regular guy. I'm getting donations from Wethersfield people between $5 and $100. Now I've already qualified. They say, there's too much, special interest and too much money coming into our campus. There's not. Wethersfield residents gave 150 Wethersfield residents helped me reach my goal, and
then what is
and then I got the state funding that comes from the money that doesn't get turned in either by bottle returns or so it's not coming out of the general fund per se, or property taxes that aren't accounted for. That being said, it keeps what some people don't like out of our races. I'm not beholden to really anybody except the people of Wethersfield, as I should be. But I don't have PACs donating to my campaign. I don't have unions. I don't have corporations. I don't have anybody. I have the people of Wethersfield that donate to my campaign, and I've already qualified. And it's a good thing. But watch the ads, and there was one in particular I saw tonight where it was a Republican Tea Party group going after Andy Rohrbach, saying that he was, so it's not just that they're coming after Republicans, coming after Democrats, Democrats going after Republicans. They're going after their own. If they don't think you're the right kind of Republican, like this one did for Andy Rohrbach in the 5th Congressional District, they were just skewering this guy. I mean, it was a horrible ad. I mean, whether you like, I know Andy Rohrbach. He's a good guy. Whether I agree with his politics all the time, that's irrelevant. But he's a good guy, and they painted him, in a horrible light. And you've seen it mostly right now in the 5th Congressional District. You're seeing, a super PAC that's backing Elizabeth Esty, a super PAC that's backing Dan Roberti.
Now,
and they're separate. They're separate from the campaigns, right? So they can say whatever the heck they want. They can really, and they're going after. It just makes no sense to me.
Now,
excuse me.
Roberti says that he doesn't have to say who his top 5 donors are, but he's saying that he'll do it after the primary. Does he even have to do it then?
No.
Okay.
No, there's no disclosure in this stuff, and I guess I've talked about it before. I think we talked about it on the last show. When what drove us to try to do something in Connecticut is what happened in North Carolina, where one year the super PACs, the Koch brothers, they come in, they just throw a ton of money into some races. The first year they went after all the Republicans that they didn't like, got rid of them. The next year they came in and went after the Democrats they didn't like, and they really, issues, and it's this is what's getting away from what I have always envisioned politics should be, issue driven. Mm-hmm. If you don't like what I stand for, you don't like what I'm doing, what I voted on, that's fine. We have to. That's a matter of public record. You can see what I voted on every issue. I don't understand why there's a need to start trying to paint people that's not accurate, that they come up with things that are not true. Mm-hmm. And there's, even in this race with Susan Beiswitz and Chris Murphy, I happen to be supporting Chris Murphy, and I'll be voting for him on Tuesday. She put out an ad that wasn't necessarily true. And, she kept it out there for quite a while. And it's like, what are people doing?
She said she wasn't going to take it.
Why? Why do we have to do that in politics? I think that's why people get so turned off. And there's the majority of people that are involved in this business up at the Capitol, and there's 151 of us in the House, I'm going to say, I can't say that maybe a handful of people that I look at and say, why are you here? But Republican or Democrat, there's a lot of really good people up there. And to have to resort to this, I'm convinced when I go out door knocking, and that's what I'll be doing starting after Labor Day. The day after Labor Day, I'll be in your neighborhoods and knocking on doors and talking to people. And I'm convinced that people don't want the negative campaigning. I'm convinced of it, but yet it must work because people keep doing it, or consultants just keep saying, you have to do it.
And the amount of money that is being thrown into these campaigns, it's obscene.
Yeah.
Can you think of how many homes that would buy for people, how much food that
Well,
would
think
buy
about,
for people?
look at what, Elizabeth Esty and Dan Roberti have both thrown $750,000 of their own money into a race. Yeah. Linda McMahon, the last time she spent over $50 million of her own personal money. And I think she's up to, is it 26 already?
It's pretty high right now.
I don't know the exact number, and it's like, wow, I wish if I had that kind of money,
You'd be doing something else with it.
But you have to spend that much of your own money to get a seat like that? I mean, what's the motive? It just doesn't make sense to me. And I think the average guy that's going out to work every day, and listen, that's I go to work every day, I do my job, and that's what the people of Wethersfield are like. They're working people. They're hardworking people that live in a great town, and they work hard so they can stay in this town. Mm-hmm. And to have to, it's like to think of that kind of money that's getting thrown around, it just blows my mind.
It really is obscene.
So,
let's see.
So we're going to bring that up again. We'll do something.
You will.
We sent we sent a letter to Congress. We sent a letter down to D.C. From the State House in Connecticut. I think I got at least most of the Democratic members to sign on. Say, listen, this isn't cool. We don't want this. I wonder what Andrew's telling me now.
Because
vanilla milkshake.
Because Congress is so effective, they'll be able to do something.
Well, hey, listen, it's a different game, and that's what John Larson was talking about, because there was an article where people were kicking him around for raising so much money. Well, guess what? When you're going up against, as long as the field is as it is, and if the courts, and they say it's okay for super PACs to throw hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars into races, well, guess what? It has to be combated somehow. So if John Larson has to go out and raise funds to try to help not only himself but his other colleagues, it's not even a level playing field. Yeah. It's not a level playing field, and I can't criticize the man for that due to the fact that we're looking at what's going on nationwide, and it's insane.
It's crazy. Russ, I want to touch on the committees that you're on, because that's really kind of important.
Excuse me.
Because you're chair of a really important committee, Government Administration and Elections, and I don't know how many bills came out of your committee this past year, which is probably more than usual, but
Yeah.
but it seems a little unusual that someone in their second term would be chair of a huge committee.
Well,
Did I make that up?
no. Well, the second term, third term, but it is. There were
Well, I
not.
mean, but
There,
you
there
were
weren't
there.
a lot.
Yeah.
In my third term. My second term, I was an assistant majority leader.
Oh,
my
that's
third,
true.
my third
Yep.
term,
You were
I was
chair.
a chair. But yeah, that's not. I think myself and William Tong and maybe Joe Tabersack were the only chairs
That's really
with this
interesting.
shortage. But no, it's not common. And you know, the committee is really interesting. We did in the first year of that term, we did the government accountability and all that, trying to do some consolidations, and we reduced quite a bit, you know, of agencies. This year we got rid of a lot of redundant commissions that either, you know, didn't meet much, or, you know, we consolidated them with something else. And you know, again, maybe not a ton of savings, but I think it's a mindset.
It is.
It's a mindset. If you could start, you know, because we're asking people to do more with less. And so this way, if we could start getting people to think differently, I mean, you know me, I'm a proponent of the services that we provide for people through the state. But on the flip side, we do have to recognize that right now the way we are economically, we have to be a little leaner. And we still need to provide those services. So if we can look at ways to be more efficient, I'm always going to push for that. But so working on that committee, I spent an awful lot of time going over what you know, agencies do. You know, what do they really need? And a lot of it the governor has put into the budget. I mean, we put forth this huge recommendation. If you remember, you saw the law that we put forth, and it's kind of cool now to start seeing some of it, you know, getting
Taking
implemented.
shape, yeah.
You know, other committees have taken parts of it and said, okay, you know, maybe public health has taken a little bit and say, hey, maybe we don't need to do this here. So, you know what? At the end of the day, it's nice to have that opportunity and to be involved in that. And this year, some of the election laws, you know, it's a hard committee. And the reason it's a hard committee is because, especially when you talk about elections, I mean, we're all political people. So everybody is affected by the decisions we make on elections. So people get a little feisty.
Yep, absolutely.
They get really feisty, as a matter of fact. And but it's okay. It's okay. It's interesting. This year we're really trying to do some things with the accountability. We did online registration. We did same day voting, and so far it's you know, I think overall we've worked well with the Secretary of State, the Governor's office.
So everything is all set. Now, nothing's going to change on August 14th.
No.
That'll be normal.
No. And listen, on November 6th, nothing really changes either, because, frankly, people could already do a presidential ballot.
Yeah.
They could come in if they hadn't been registered and vote for the President of the United
Yep,
States.
that's true.
So,
That's true.
you know, there's going to be safeguards in place. And listen, we talk about, you know, one of the things that I think everybody is concerned about is the integrity of the elections. And you see that, especially in towns like ours. I mean, our registrars do a terrific job. They oversee the elections,
Oh, yeah.
and I think they do a really good job.
Yeah, it goes so smoothly here.
And you know, so I think where you see some potential problems where people are concerned are the larger cities. And I have to tell you, I think we have a pretty good grip on it. And you know, we're going to have to. We've given the Secretary of State a little more power, and I don't know if authority is probably a better word. So she can go in, especially when she's not on the ballot, to go in, and when there's things going on, to go in and audit and see what people are doing.
Yeah.
And if there's problems, because right now, even though she oversees the elections, boy, we're getting a lot of some crazy stuff going on. When the elections are going on, she really didn't have the right or authority to go in and check things out, even though she's the one that
overseer, yeah.
She certifies the election. So we've given her that authority, and we want her to be more vigilant, so that if things like Bridgeport happen again,
Oh, that was a
we
mess.
can address it immediately.
Yeah, that's why I think that is one of the biggest
Yep.
committees, Russ. Really,
You know, I don't know if it is or isn't. I think I enjoy the work. The one thing I will tell you, it's a spirited group of people that are involved. You know, the town clerks associations and the town clerks associations and the registrars of voters. And I think it's one of those things that we should, you know, welcome their participation. There's a lot of people that are interested in what goes on in elections. And so when we have our meetings and our public hearings, there's always a lot of good people. There's a lot of the advocate groups that'll come out, you know, that are fighting for one thing or another. I mean, one of the things that's, you know, there's all kinds of stuff that happens, and I like the interactions. The one thing I'll say is that there's a lot when you chair a committee like any committee, people want to talk to you, and all those advocates, they want to set times to sit and talk with you. And you know, Gail and I actually try to do it. Many committees will do it separately. The House chair will meet with people, and then the Senate chair. Gail and I really try to work our schedules together, so we do it. So we kind of hear what people are saying, because oftentimes, you know, sometimes people might try to play against each other.
it could be lost in translation.
Yeah. So for the most part, I'll say I like working with Gail. She's a sharp lady, and she's knows her stuff. She's been on that committee for quite a few years. So she's been fun to work with, and I've learned an awful lot in a short period of time.
You know your stuff.
There's not a whole lot of learning curves.
Yeah, I know. They don't give you a chance.
No.
What other committees, Russ? You're on energy and transportation?
No more energy. I got traded for a draft pick. No, I'm on finance.
Oh, God, I knew that. Okay.
Yeah, finance committee, and you know that one. The speaker at the time asked me, he said, "Hey, you know, we need you to go on finance. We'll give." You know, because normally what happens is every term, if you get reelected, whoever the speaker is, and this year we'll have Brendan Sharkey, a new speaker, coming in. They'll sit down with you and ask you what would you like, what committees would you like to serve on, what are your priorities, what can you bring to the table, and so I've always been a huge fan of transportation because it's my background, and I was on commerce and I was on energy at one time, and so Chris Donovan says to me, well, I think you'd be good on finance. So basically when they say that to you, it's really like,
you're going to be on finance.
Yeah, you're going to be on finance. And I'm thinking, oh, great, the taxing committee. But, you know, it's actually really interesting. I've met some good people, and we were able to do some stuff. I remember there was a constituent that's very active in the airline repair industry and supply industry. And there was a bill proposed that was really going to adversely impact them. And it came before us, and I sat down and met with her. She's based over at Brainerd. And after talking to her and getting a better understanding, we were able, you know, if I hadn't spoken with her, I would have said, okay, this seems reasonable. After talking to her, she explained to me why it wasn't reasonable, and she kind of helped me find ways that we could get to where we needed to be. And so we were able to eliminate that would have been a tax that would have gone specifically on that industry, and it was pretty interesting.
Oh,
so
very
it's actually as negative as it can come out on the committee taxes. It's pretty interesting, and I like serving on that. I've learned a lot. It's a big committee. There's got to be 55 people on it.
Yeah, that's like
it's
one of
huge.
the biggest, right?
Appropriations in that one,
yeah.
and so you go in that committee room and it's a lot going on, but you listen a lot. I listen a lot in that committee.
So appropriations spends the money and finance figures out how to pay for it?
Correct.
Is that basically?
That's exactly how it works.
Okay.
Very few people serve on both. There's I think one or two people.
Yeah, that would be kind of.
No, I have no interest. I actually, now that I'm there, I like it. It's a very fascinating committee. I'm also on transportation.
Yes.
And again, that's something that's always interested me from my background working in the transportation department. I think ultimately it's there's so much going on. There's a balance that's being struck, and we seem to be moving really more towards mass transit, and there's a need for it. But I get concerned that I think sometimes we're forgetting our infrastructure. To get you to the mass transit, you need the bridges and roads and all that. And I've talked to Tony Guerrero a lot about it, and I'm always one of the ones, I'm one of the, it seems like the makeup of the committee is mostly Fairfield County and shoreline people,
Really?
and that dictates where a lot of the priorities go. And
That's not fair.
it is what it is. I mean, they make up the committee, people put the committee together, and, Republicans and Democrats.
Well, I don't think that's fair. Who do I tell?
You can tell this. We'll wait to see what the new speaker does. But for me, I'm always going to advocate a little bit for the the road builders and the guys that are building bridges, because it's a cycle that I see when the Mianus River Bridge collapsed. We just started spending money hand over fist, and because our infrastructure was in tough shape, and we got all kinds of money, and nobody cared about spending it because, hey, a bridge just fell down. And we repaired bridges. Well, that was 20-something years ago, maybe close to 30 years ago now. And it's hard to believe, isn't it?
Yeah, it
But
is.
say 25 years, or however many years.
Wow.
So the span of these structures, when you don't do things to them, they don't last forever.
Oh,
So,
Yeah.
and you talk about, on 84 in downtown Hartford by Etna, the Etna Viaduct, that's going to cost a couple $2 billion to repair.
oh my goodness.
Now, you have to repair it.
Yeah, you do.
And so those are the types of things. They did the Quinnipiac River Bridge in New Haven.
Yes.
Again, huge dollars, but that I never wanted to drive over that bridge.
Yeah.
Never. It was bad, and there's plenty of them like that. So I'm going to always advocate for that. So right now, I like the committees I'm on. I would say to the speaker that if I'm lucky enough to get reelected, that
You'd like to.
I would like to stay. But it's his decision. He may say, like when the old speaker put me on finance, he might say, "Geez, Russ, I think you'd be great on housing." And I say, "Oh boy, I'd love to." But you have to advocate for what you like. And
Russ, speaking of, you mentioned roads. You got some money coming to Weathersfield for the town aid road funds.
yeah, I mean, every year that's one of those things that you have to be cognizant of what's going on, because as the budget's drafted, numbers get moved around, and some towns will become winners, some towns will become losers, and that's one of the things that we just say when we're looking at the budget. We as the delegation will say, listen, we got to make sure that this stays here, that if we're not going to get increases in things, that they stay level, so the town knows. Because the problem with our budget, and not so well, is typically our budget is set at the state level after the town has done their budget. So they're going on a song and a prayer that we're gonna, and typically we've over the years, and I can go back from my days being on the municipal side, that when it was Billy Ciotto and Paul Doyle, I mean, they would say, listen, this is where we think, this is the original budget, you can expect that things will change, but maybe not so drastically, but you never really know, depending on what happens with the revenues, if things are going down. So we've been very fortunate, but things like town aid for roads, local capital improvement stuff has been excellent. We've done some great things as far as bringing some money for fixing. We've done a terrific job with Millwoods Park.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a $500,000 grant
Yeah.
to do that. They did the whole beach because there were serious erosion problems coming from the parking lot onto the beach, and that was very important to the town. That was one of their top priorities. And as I said before, so many people use Millwoods, whether it's a swimming hole or anything else. So we were able, with that $500,000, they were able to fix some drainage problems, pave the parking lot, and fix the beach erosion problem.
Wow.
And that's just an example of the type of things that we're able to do. And you know what? If you listen to what some of the people like my opponent will say, we got to stop spending money. Well, guess what? When they stop spending the money, those are the type of projects that go away. And it's money that Weathersfield residents pay. And as long as those types of projects are out there, I'm going to make sure that Weathersfield gets their fair share. It's quality of life stuff for our town. I mean, we've done it with steep grants for the Celestine Highway, and not only Celestine Highway, but for the facade improvement plan.
Yes.
Where you see a lot of the businesses getting those loans. Well, a lot of that money's coming from the state.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, and so I think we got $250,000 for that. Yeah, $250,000
Wow.
for facade improvement. So,
Wow.
$100,000 for Catone Field lights. And, some people hate that. Well, you know what? Go there. I talked to a young man that graduated from high school this past year, and he played soccer, and he said it was amazing when they played night games, because they had never played night games before, how many people, he said, so many people came to our games.
Because they could.
Because they could.
Yeah.
Because soccer's typically played at like 3 o'clock or 3:30 in the afternoon. Well, they had 7 o'clock games. All of a sudden, people from town were saying, because Weathersfield's always got a great soccer program, but night football games were exciting. So community events, and that's, that's the type of thing that I'm always going to be fighting for, looking for things that benefit, a lot of people, that they could, that they bring people together.
Good.
Yep.
Good. Hey, Russ, you have something called Friends of Russ.
Yeah, we've done a Facebook page, and if, we want people to go on board and get on the Friends, just like the Friends of Russ page, become a friend. Some of the things, a lot of times I just highlight what's going on, what events I'm going at. So if people want to come and talk to me, we put down, put down what streets I'm knocking. And so people,
so people know whether to be home or not?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, heck, he's going to be in our neighborhood.
Exactly.
Let's bolt it up.
Let me know when you're coming to my neighborhood.
I won't tell you that. I'll just show up. But, I want to touch base. I'm glad you brought that up, because during the power outage, we talk about what the different forms of media can do for us. During the power outage, people were so frustrated. If you remember the freak snowstorm.
Oh, yeah.
People were irate because they weren't getting any info from Northeast. I was actually using my Facebook page.
Yeah.
And I was working with John Fonfera, and he was getting reports.
Because he's energy.
Because he's the
right?
chair of energy. He would get the reports of what was going on, why certain areas of town were without power, what the reasons were, and I was posting them on my Facebook page.
That's where I found out a lot of what was going on.
And it was, you know what? It was really cool, and I
it was neat.
And people would take what I was sending, and people that weren't on my friends page would, I just tell them, just to people, whoever took it, send it to your friends that are in town. And so we were able, and John was really beating on Northeast utilities pretty badly, and I was glad to hear that. But and sometimes he would say, Russ, this neighborhood will have power in an hour. They said. Within an hour, these people had power, and it was kind of cool. But again, it's a tool that we can use.
Social media is where it's going.
And for the old dinosaur like myself, it's hard to get in tune with it. But it's out there. We use it.
The way of the world.
And people need access to information.
I was watching. I mean, I was getting on.
So on the Friends of Russ page, you can say that, hey, Russ, we'd love to put your sign up. That's part of the thing. We want signs, sign locations. If they want to help, of course.
We already have a sign.
Yeah, put it up
from 2 years ago.
Yep, that's good. And people that have them can put them up themselves.
Tell me when we put them up.
Whenever you want. Usually we wait until
Labor Day?
Usually after Labor Day. But
okay.
We could do it when we want.
All right.
But usually we wait till the end of September,
5th?
beginning of
How's
the day after November 7th. So it's one of those things though where we I'm just trying to reach as many people as I can. We've been doing this show for how long now? It's been at least 8 or 9 years.
Has
Because
to be.
when we were mayor,
When you were mayor,
for 3 years, and now I'm ending my 6th year in the legislature.
Wow.
So we've been doing this, and I think I always wonder. I kind of joke. I mean, maybe there's 8 people that might watch it. Most of them are my family members, but you never know. Yeah, and Frank, but you never know. And sometimes people would stop me at the grocery store and ask me about something we talked about. So maybe when people are flipping through, but the one thing I try to be to people in Weathersfield is accessible. Whether it's a phone call or doing this, talking about this, the issues that I find important, or if you see me in the Stop and Shop, I mean, I'll talk to people. That's my job. I'm supposed to listen. And I try to do that, and I'll continue to do it again. We'll do a couple more shows before the election, and we'll talk about different things. I may try to bring a guest or two on for the next show in September, But I look at it as, I want you to have as much access to me to really understand. And I think the people of Weathersfield kind of know me by now.
Have you ever noticed anyone hesitate contacting you?
Well, sometimes you'd be surprised though. Sometimes people will call me at home and say, I really didn't want to call you. And you know, and I'll say, well, you should call me, and you know,
Yeah.
if there's something going on and I can help, think about some of the, you know, by people like John and Gina Gallivan who contacted me about bone marrow stuff. If you know, if they said, oh, maybe I shouldn't call them. I mean, we were able to pass the bone marrow legislation that helps, you know, save
Kind
lives.
of like a no-brainer.
Yeah, well, but you had to fight for that.
Exactly.
We had to
It
fight
took
for
you a
that. And the
while.
EV bill,
Yes.
you know, those types of bills that you have to fight for that are no-brainers, but people try to fight.
Absolutely.
But those types of bills, if people don't take the initiative to come to you and say, hey, we need help with this, if it wasn't for them, you know, we wouldn't have got there. So I think, you know, it's, and you know, I get plenty of emails from people that maybe don't like a specific thing, but again, I represent you, and I'll listen to you, and I'll give you my reasons. And you know, sometimes we actually come together, and maybe we don't, but I'll listen to anybody that's you know, being somewhat civil. I'm saying somewhat because you'd be surprised. Sometimes people are not.
You don't need to listen to those people.
Well, for the most part, you know, sometimes people are just angry, and I'll try to
I
give them
know.
that benefit.
People can be angry. They can still be
You know,
civil.
something else that's going to be going on, and I think we need to be cognizant of, is the MDC is going to be coming about the more phases of the clean water,
Okay.
and
Okay.
really getting Weathersfield Cove, and we fought about it. You know, 9 years ago we fought to get Weathersfield Cove taken out of
Oh, yeah.
of the loop of that. And there's another phase they're going to be coming to the voters looking for. You know, they have to come every few years to get the approval for bonding money.
Bonding, okay.
Just remember, Weathersfield residents, we know we don't want to spend money sometimes, but it directly will benefit Weathersfield Cove. We're getting there. I mean, every day when they take one source line out of combined and separate it, the water quality will get better.
When will we be hearing from
Well, we should be hearing from him pretty darn soon, because it's going to be on the, I believe that it's going to be a referendum question in November.
In November? Oh,
Isn't that right?
Okay.
They're doing a referendum.
Okay.
The live studio audience agrees. So we'll hear about that. But you know, it'll be it's something that we have to be paying attention. So as we go on, I know Matt probably said, I don't know how many more minutes we have, maybe 2, 3, 2. He's giving me the peace sign, so that must mean 2. You know, I'm going to be coming around after Labor Day. We're going to come out. We're going to continue to talk about issues. We're going to continue to talk. I have a great campaign committee. Brendan's my campaign chair again. He does a terrific job. He's been with me since the beginning, and I appreciate that, Brendan Flynn. And I have great people on the campaign committee that have given an amazing amount of time of themselves to help me. And we're going to we run this campaign every year. I tell you, I run my campaign just like it's the first time I ever ran for office.
Yes, you do.
We go out, we knock on doors, we work hard, and I really want to, obviously, I want to continue serving the people of Weathersfield, and we'll have much more to talk about in the couple months that are leading up to. It's amazing. I think on my friend's Russ page that there was only 88 days left. Not that anybody's counting before Election Day.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's one of those things, you know, we think, what the heck, it's a long time away, but it goes really fast.
Yeah, it does.
And I'm looking forward to having this opportunity, you know, to you know, again, I'm always accessible, but getting out and just not standing on somebody's front steps and talking to them is really kind of a cool thing to do.
Good.
So I look forward to it. Please contact me with any questions or concerns, and if you want to help out, you want to do a sign, you want to, you know, get involved in the campaign, friends of Russ, or call me at home, we'd love to have you. Heidi, good night.
Good night.
Studio audience, Tootsie the Wonder Dog. I hope everybody has a great rest of the summer.